All right. Hello, everyone. We are going to give it a few more minutes for more people to join, but welcome to our webinar.
Thanks, Ashley, for having this all set up for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Well, we can go ahead and get started. There is going to be a recording after this that's going to be sent out to all of the people that registered. So we can go ahead and dive in, and people are welcome to join. More people are welcome to join during the webinar. So let's go ahead and just get started. So awesome. This is our webinar, Navigating Volatility, Transport Strategies for an Unpredictable Market. So if you work in transport, you already know that things can change very quickly. A storm is going to hit, or fuel prices shift, routes get disrupted. and suddenly you're dealing with a transportation need that wasn't on your radar yesterday. So today we are going to be talking about what volatility actually looks like for fleets in 2026, the challenges that operators are facing right now, and how you can build a transportation strategy that helps you stay ahead instead of constantly playing catch up. So before we jump in, I wanted to introduce our speakers today. Today we have joining us Michael Clark, our sales account manager here at ATC. He's going to be talking about what ATC does and how we can help fleets respond when unexpected situations come up. We also have Heidi Pierce Graham, our business development manager at ATC, who will be discussing some of the biggest challenges fleets are facing and strategies operators can use to prepare for uncertainty. So we'll save the time at the end for anybody that has questions. So feel free to drop them in the chat. And with that, let's get started. So Michael, I'll hand it over to you. You can go ahead and give a quick overview of ATC and how the company supports transportation nationwide.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So at ATC Driveaway, basically it's kind of in the name. We do drive-away transportation for a number of different types of companies, whether it be railroad companies, commercial vehicle dealers, utility companies, and for a variety of reasons. It could be fleet relocation, for consolidation, for storm season, for utility companies, or it could just be for basic needs, whether it be like a manufacturer or an upfitter that's just essentially getting units to their customers. But that's essentially what we do. If it can be driven, we drive it. While we do specialize in, larger and more commercial style vehicles, we will drive any type of and consistently do drive every odd and end size and type of vehicle that can be driven on the road. But that's essentially what we specialize in. And one thing that we've really been doing a lot more recently is larger fleet relocations and things like that for clients that need to move, multiple units at the same time. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Michael. So Heidi, let's shift to you to talk a little bit more about that. So what are some of the biggest challenges operators face when volatility starts affecting transportation?
Some of the bigger challenges that we've seen in the past, and as storm season is kind of coming up as well, and the market volatility is kind of, off the line. We're seeing last minute scheduling changes or issues. We're seeing driver availability challenges, communication breakdowns, and of course the rising fuel costs. And the best way to plan for these things is one, plan ahead. Always plan ahead. Try to keep a flexible schedule. Whether it's pickup or delivery, the more flexible you are, it's easier for our drivers to be able to come in and out and get that delivered in a timely manner. Always have a backup plan with anything you do. This is no different. Always have, if your first plan goes to junk, always have a backup plan. Make sure you have a good partnership with your transport and drive away partners. Make sure you have a really good one where you can communicate, whether it be email, phone, text, whatever works best with you. Communicate that as well.
Awesome. Perfect. So I think that's a really great point. I think for a lot of operators, the biggest goal is really finding ways to just reduce stress and simplify the process when things get unpredictable.
Right.
So my next question for you both is, when companies are dealing with all this uncertainty, how does ATC help make things easier operationally?
Well, with pricing, we have essentially two pricing models. One is an all-inclusive, which includes the fuel, the tolls, anything like that. It's all in one price. And then we have what we call a plus plus structure, which is the base pricing, and then plus your fuel and tolls. We also offer an expedited fee if that is something that is needed as well. Right now, we are seeing more people take advantage of the plus plus structure just purely right now because of fuel. When we do the plus plus pricing structure, all that is a straight pass through to the customer. So when our drivers send in the receipts for fuel, that goes straight through to the customer. When we do an all inclusive quote and pricing structure, we estimate all that in. So more than likely, there's going to be a little bit more added to that just to cover that extra cost of fuel if that does come up, or extra tolls. So right now, I would say the plus plus is the best pricing module for people right now, especially with fuel being so volatile. But it honestly comes down to what works best for the customer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that really highlights the importance of just having options. Every transport is different, and what works for one operation may not work for another. So a lot of companies need that flexibility because their transportation needs change constantly. So having different solutions available definitely allows people to choose what makes the most sense for their operations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, before we move into Q&A, I just want to quickly recap some of the key takeaways from what we just talked about. So volatility is something that transport can't always control. Weather events, fuel changes, and unexpected transportation needs are going to happen. Whether we can control it or not. But preparation is something that you can control. So having a proactive transportation strategy, reliable communication, and a trusted transport partner can definitely help reduce that disruption and keep operations moving whenever challenges do come up. So thank you guys both for joining us today and sharing your insights. I'm going to move into our Q&A portion right now. So first question that I wanted to highlight is regarding the Montgomery versus Carib ruling. So with this recent ruling, it's changing how freight broker liability is being viewed. What do you think transportation companies need to be paying closer attention to moving forward?
Well, I think one, I'm not an expert on this case, so I think everybody should do their due diligence and, read a little bit. You don't have to go in depth, but read a little bit about this case. But it essentially says that freight brokers can now be held liable under negligent hiring for an unsafe motor carrier. Companies really need to increase their standards for vetting the partnerships you create with your Driveaway or transport companies. Make sure you're working with a trusted company that will take the pressure away from you all, that has the insurance that is needed. At ATC, we maintain a very tough driver qualification standard. We have strict DOT compliance and comprehensive safety protocols. Right now, with all that said, we can definitely be the Driveaway and transport company for you. You won't have to worry about this with ATC, but just make sure you're vetting all your partners.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, next question I have is, what is the biggest mistake that operators make during storm season?
I think the biggest mistake they make is waiting until after a storm has been forecasted. When you do that, available drivers get booked really quick. Transportation costs often go up due to the demand, and routes can be limited, not always, but can be limited by road closures or weather conditions. And with that being said, vehicles can be stranded at dealerships, at ports, auctions, at, our customers' locations. So if you can help it, don't wait until the last minute.
Good advice. Next question I have is, how do you handle route disruptions during severe weather?
Mike, you want
That's
to
a
take
good
that?
question. Yeah. The biggest thing with that is planning ahead. We just know a lot of it through experience. And really, a lot of it is common sense, but keeping up with the weather obviously is the biggest part. But if you know that you've got, a lane that goes through the middle of the Rocky Mountains in the middle of the winter time, you typically will plan for that route. And we look at everything like that. Whether it's storm season in the southeast, in the Gulf area, or winter season in the mountains. We look at that from even the type of unit and the route that it would be taking. But the biggest thing would be planning ahead, I think.
Awesome. And what would you say operators should prioritize first during an emergency relocation?
Rather than trying to move everything at once, I would recommend prioritizing the vehicles based on your business impact, the risk, and the urgency.
Nice. And what are operators most surprised by when fuel volatility hits?
Oh, that's easy. How fast it hits. That's
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize that fuel can go from one price to another in the course of a day. So that's why, we definitely preach that to our clients to, if it's something they're wanting to get done, to um, do it if it's already on the ledger as soon as possible, because things can change over the course of a day.
absolutely. And how would you guys say that operators could better control transportation costs during these unstable fuel markets?
I would say focus on planning, um, plan moves in advance, consolidate vehicle moves, use the right transportation method, whether it be drive away or transported on a trailer. Um, Look at your routes, optimize your routes, and like I said before, maintain a flexible schedule. And like I said before, also build that long-term partnership.
Nice. Awesome. And final question that I have is, how do customers typically decide between pricing structures?
Well, typically what I see is if they're paying for it themselves, they'll go with the plus pricing because that guarantees you're going to get the at the pump price for that day. It's not going to be an estimate that has to be, overestimated just a touch to account for fluctuation and or flotation with the pricing. With people that are passing that along to a customer, like a manufacturer or an upfitter, or even a commercial dealer, where they a lot of times will include that pricing in the sale of the unit, and they'll kind of give them their customer a one price number. Those typically go for the all-in pricing. That way, they don't have to bill their customers more than once, or change the pricing on them. They can just give them, a solid number up front. But that's typically what we see.
Awesome. Well, that is all of the questions that I have. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you again to Michael and Heidi for sharing your expertise. Hopefully this conversation gave you guys some helpful strategies for navigating uncertainty and building a transportation plan that keeps your business moving. So if you have any additional questions after today's webinar, feel free to reach out to the ATC team. We have our contact information here on the screen. And thanks again, everyone. And we hope that you have a great rest of your day.